Part 1. You will hear a woman telephoning a health club to inquire about buying a membership for a relative. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning, Frisco's Health Club. Andy speaking.
Oh, hello. The reason I'm ringing is I'd like to make inquiries about buying a membership, not for myself, but for a relative. Have I got through to the right person?
Oh, yes. How can I help you? What would you like to know?
Well, the club was recommended by the friend of a friend, and I am not exactly sure where you are. Could you explain?
We're at the Grange.
Oh, yes, I know. Isn't that Wickham Road?
Nearly. It's actually Wickford Road. Wickford.
Oh, right. I've got that. And that's in Red Heaton, isn't it?
That's right. We're actually just at the back of the market.
OK. Now, as I said, the person I want to buy the membership for is not myself, but my sister as a birthday present.
Would you mind my asking if she works full-time?
No, she doesn't.
You see, we have two types of membership package. The gold is best for people who work full-time. I think the most suitable deal for her would be our silver package.
So, what exactly does that mean?
It means she'd be able to use all the facilities from 7:30 in the morning. Although we're looking at opening at 6:30 if there's enough interest, until 3:45 every day.
And what does that work out as?
Well, at the moment, we're offering a reduced price as we are expanding. And not all of our new facilities have been built yet. It's £25 off, making it £40. That's a month.
That sounds good. And I know some clubs have something they call a joining fee. Do you have one of those?
Yes, it's £30. OK?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
And what facilities do you have at the club?
Well, we have a fitness studio with all the usual equipment like exercise bikes and rowing machines.
Oh, good. She'll like that. But I suppose you've got a swimming pool.
Yes, there's a 20-metre pool, and if your sister's interested in tennis, we've got facilities for that as well.
Indoors?
No, outdoors. We've just started building some indoor squash courts, though. They should be open in a couple of months.
And do you do things like yoga classes?
No. Sorry. But we are running dance classes on Wednesdays, Fridays and Saturdays. I don't know if your sister would be interested in them.
You know, I just think she might. Oh, and do you have a sauna? She's very keen on that.
Not at the moment, but we do have plans to build one in our next phase of building. And we just opened a hairdresser's, though I should mention they're not open on Sundays.
Right.
And if your sister fancies a drink and something to eat after all her hard work, we've got a cafe which is open every day of the week, including weekends. There are plans to open a juice bar too, in the future.
OK. And can I just ask, if my sister forgets her towel, can she get one here?
Oh yes, no problem. Just ask at reception. There is a charge, though, of 50p each. We also have balls and rackets for hire too. That costs a bit more, of course.
Well, that all sounds very good. What should I do now?
Well, the normal procedure is to see John Weissman, our admissions manager, and just bring along details of your bank account and a couple of photos for the forms.
Well, I'll get the details together and call in tomorrow.
Fine. We'll see you then. I'm sure your sister will enjoy her present.
That is the end of part 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You are going to hear a tutor talking to a group of philosophy students. First, look at questions 11 to 13. For these questions, complete the blank spaces in the table as you listen to the first part of the talk.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Russell, and I am your tutor for philosophy this year. I think we're all here. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, yes, that's everyone. Before we look at the 3 lectures you've had on philosophy this week, I would just like to run through a few things about what you can expect of me as tutor and what in turn we expect of you. As for myself, my function as tutor is to help you in all things relating to your work in the philosophy course. The help that I am able to give is, of course, mainly academic. For personal matters, I can refer you to other support services in the university, ranging from counselling to welfare. One thing that I would point out is that if you feel that you need to talk to someone, no matter how insignificant it is, don't leave it. Oh, and the last thing is, if you do need to make an appointment, the times are listed on the door of my room. You just write your name in a time slot. But I would point out that the appointment slots get booked up quite quickly. If it's urgent, catching me between sessions is the best idea. That way we can sort something out quickly. No questions?
Before the talk continues, look at questions 14 to 20. As you listen to the second part of the talk, answer the questions. For questions 14 to 19, circle the correct letter, A, B, or C.
OK. As regards you as students, the tutorials are voluntary. You're not obliged to attend, but you are encouraged to do so. Last year, for the first time, a register was kept of students attending lectures, and this year tutors are being asked to keep a register of tutorial attendance. This is not a formal register, and not all tutors will be doing it, but in the philosophy department, all of us have chosen to keep registers. Another point that's being emphasised this year is punctuality. When we did exit questionnaires, we found that people arriving late for tutorials and lectures was the single most annoying thing for the majority of students. I would therefore ask you to try to be on time for the tutorials, and for all your other classes for that matter. As regards the tutorials themselves, we will have a review of the philosophy lectures of the week before, with the discussion being led by one of you each week. There is, of course, some planning involved, but you should rely primarily on the notes you made at the lectures. This will not take up the whole of the 90 minutes allocated to the tutorial. For the rest of the time, we will look at a particular philosopher, period, or concept for which you will be expected to do some preparation each week. This will range from reading about a particular individual or concept to preparing a brief outline on a subject of your choice. How much you put into this depends on you, but we're not expecting in-depth analysis at this stage. Are there any questions so far?
I'd just like to ask whether the work we do in the tutorials counts towards our continuous assessment, and if so, how much?
I was just coming on to that point. All the work you do in the way of essays and project work that is graded counts towards your continuous assessment grades. The mini presentations and lecture discussions will not be graded, but obviously, as time goes on, these activities will, I hope, have an impact on your work and hence your scores. Does that answer your question?
Basically, yes. But what about...
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You are going to hear a conversation between Sally and Ben. They are new college students. You now have some time to read questions 21 to 25. Now, listen to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Ben.
Sally.
How are you?
Fine.
I wondered if I'd run into you. When did you get here?
I only arrived last night, just in time. I prefer to travel on Sundays to miss the working rush. I suppose you arrived in plenty of time.
Oh, I've been here for 4 days now, so it must have been Thursday that I arrived. I like to have a good chance to look around and settle in.
I should have come earlier too. I'm hoping to get a part-time job.
Well, you've no time today, I suppose. Do you still plan to be an architect?
Yes, it's what I've always wanted to do. And you were planning to do economics, weren't you?
Yes, I was, but now I've decided on psychology instead.
How many textbooks do you have to get? I've been given this long list, and I'm sure they'll cost a fortune. See?
That looks a lot. It's longer than my list.
Well, it's 14 all told. So I might use library copies instead of buying some of them. What about you?
I'll probably buy the whole lot of mine because I only have 5 on my list, although I'm sure there are many more I'll have to read.
Luckily, we don't have to read them all straight away. Have you got your class timetable yet?
It came with the book list. When do your lectures start?
Tuesday. That's tomorrow. How about yours?
Oh, I've got an extra day, the day after yours start.
Now you have some time to read questions 26 to 30. As the conversation continues, they are talking about their new college life. Listen carefully and answer questions 26 to 30.
It's nothing like school, is it?
Not so far, and the lectures will certainly be different. Do you have any special approach for keeping up with lectures and the amount we have to read?
Well, I usually try to read every word in a book, in case I miss something important. So I suppose I'll try to write down every word of the lecture if I can.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I'd get cramp in my fingers, and I wouldn't really hear what was being said. I usually skim a book when I read, and underline key parts, so I guess I'll try to make notes on the main points of the lecture. Have you thought of using a cassette recorder?
You mean to record the lecture?
Yep. Then you could make really good notes.
Is it allowed?
I think so. It must be. Plenty of people seem to do it. It has to be better than trying to write every word as you listen.
Anyway, what's your first lecture about?
Oh, it's on the Industrial Revolution.
The Industrial Revolution? Sounds boring to me.
Not really. It made a big difference to everything, including architecture eventually. So what's your first lecture about?
It's about what separates humans from other animals.
Okay. Look, I was on my way to the library to check out some of these books on my list. I have a tutorial paper to give in a couple of weeks.
Oh, what's the topic?
Well, I think our lecturer must have trouble thinking up topics. The topic is, why study architecture?
I don't know. It could give you a chance to set out what you want to do.
I guess so. Have you been given any tutorials to do yet?
Yes. Mine is called Needs for Sleep.
Sounds almost as interesting as mine.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will discuss rock art, which holds great importance in understanding human history. These carvings and paintings, found on stone surfaces, provide clues about the lives of early humans. One of the major impacts of rock art today is its contribution to tourism. Visitors from around the world travel to see these ancient sites, bringing economic benefits to local communities. However, these sites face threats from various human activities. One of the most damaging activities is mining, which can lead to the destruction of these irreplaceable works. For researchers, rock art is a valuable resource. It helps us learn about the tools, rituals, and daily life of early civilizations. These artworks also serve as evidence of how ancient societies organized themselves and communicated ideas. Creating rock art was not a simple process. Early humans used fire to prepare pigments and carve designs, which shows their innovative use of natural resources. When we examine the images on rock surfaces, we see a variety of subjects. For example, ships are a common feature, highlighting the importance of water-based transportation. Other symbols, such as light, may represent natural phenomena or concepts related to survival. Some carvings even depict rituals that were believed to involve magic, suggesting a connection to spiritual beliefs. Another frequent subject is hunting, which reflects the importance of securing food for survival. In modern times, efforts to preserve rock art have gained momentum. One effective method is through media campaigns, which raise awareness about the need to protect these sites for future generations. By understanding the significance of rock art, we can ensure that these ancient works remain a part of our shared history.